Welcome to this Pastel My Business online webinar. This webinar will show you how to generate reports ranging from outstanding customer balances to an asset register. We will also cover the profit and loss statement, statement of assets and liabilities, and a trial balance.
We're going to look today at financial reports, financial statements and reports. Now, to access your financial reports and also other reports in the Pastel My Business online, you will find it on the reports menu. So by simply clicking on the reports button where I am right now, it will give you a list of the options, or rather the types of reports that we have. As you can see, we've got customer specific reports, supplier specific reports, items or inventory, bank, credit cards and accounts, tax reports, financial statements, asset reports and other reports. Now what I will do is I will go through each of those reports in a bit of detail with you, but I will not cover each and every single one. So I'll just take you over a brief overview under each of the reports and display a couple of them to you. Most importantly, the financial reports and some of the other interesting reports that you may find interesting and useful to your business. Now firstly, let's look at our customer specific reports. By simply clicking on the customers option, it will bring up a list of reports which is available under customers. Now I do see that there is a bit of a delay, and I think it is a network delay on my end. However, I see the screen has updated. I'm hoping it will improve as we go through the session. Now, as you can see, the list of customer specific reports, we've got a list of customer reports, which is simply a list of customers. It will show you a detail of all your customers. If you need to see their details in terms of their address information, it will appear there, and also their balances. So it's just a sheet with all the reports, with all your customers' details available. The next report would be your sales by customer. Now this report is also a sheet detailing your customers and also the sales that you're making per customer. So you'll be able to see who is your top customer by sales. So who's the customer that gives you more business, just to remain in contact or for any other PR reason, but the report is available to you. Bearing also in mind that there's also a graphical representation of your top sales by customer, which is also available on the home page, which is a graph showing you your top sales by customer, which is also very useful, and we have covered that previously. So it's just for your information. The next report that we have, which is a report that I'll take you through just for viewing purposes so you can see the contents of the report, is the customer's balances days outstanding. Now traditionally this would be a age analysis report. This would be the traditional term used on previous accounting systems. But before we go into the details of that report, we also have your customer statements. I will take you through the customer statement run, and also your customer transactions, which shows you a list of all the transactions that have been processed specifically per customer. Now I'm going to take you through the customer balances days outstanding report. By simply clicking on that link, it will take us through to the next screen, which will then allow us to select specific filters as to what sort of reports, what sort of customers are we looking at, what sort of information do we require from the report. I do apologize yet again for the delay in connection, but I've got my guys working on it on my side. Okay, great. Now this is the filters of the balances days outstanding report. It allows you to filter by customer, so you can either choose a range of customers, one specific customer, or all your customers if you don't specify customers, like how I've left it blank. You can either filter for active or inactive customers, so you can only have a look at the report showing you active or inactive customers. And also you can filter by categories. If you have categorized your customers, then you'll be able to view this report by category, which is quite useful if you want to view only specific customers in a specific category. And the report options is you need to always specify the date to run the report by. as I said before, this is days outstanding reports, so it needs to show you the amount that is outstanding from your customers, the balance that is due from your customers per period or per number of days. And bearing in mind that your number of days is put together in 30-day cycles. So it will either be in current, which would be the current period or current month that you're in, 30 days the month before, 60 days, 2 months, 90, 120 days, and so on. You'll see the report now as I go through it. I'm going to run the report up until December. That was the last processing that I had done. So let's run it up until December. Great. And we also have an option to see if you want to see a summary of the report. Now the summary will only show you the balances. So it will show you customer X, in 30 days they owe you X amount of money. However, if you show the details, then it will show you transactions that customer X in 30 days owes you X amount of money, but this X amount of money is made up of this specific invoice. So it will give you additional information to make the reports even more understandable. So for the sake of this session, let's have a look at the detailed report. So I'm going to click on detailed report. As you see at the bottom, you have the printing options, which is the viewing the report on screen, print the report, or emailing the report. Let's view the report on screen. Okay, great, just waiting for the report to update on your side. Alright, it's just a bit slow. Alright, I see it's gradually updating. Perfect. I'm confident you can see the report on your screen now. Now this is a typical report of what your days outstanding would look like. As I said, I wanted to show details, so it shows me details of each and every single invoice, receipt, opening balances that is currently outstanding for each and every single customer. Now the very first customer there on the list is Port Tembiso. Now as you'll see, everything under current would be everything processed in December, which would then be the current month. Anything in 30 days would then be everything outstanding that was processed, as you can see, in November. So those are the 4 invoices that are outstanding in November. Anything in 60 days will be October and backdated and so on. And this is the report that you get to see. Very powerful report. Gives you some level of control on your financials, just to see which of your customers has got the biggest balance in what sort of period or which number of days and so on, just to give you that added control on your reporting. Now also interestingly is that Pastel My Business gives you the functionality to drill down to specific documents. Now as you can see my mouse on the screen, I've put my mouse on the very first invoice on that customer's account. Notice my mouse has now changed to a hand, meaning that I can drill down on that specific transaction and it will take me to the original source document. So it will take me to the original invoice by simply clicking on it. Also a very powerful tool, and bearing in mind that this drill down functionality is available throughout the application. So on any report that you are viewing on the Pastel My Business Online, if you hover your mouse on any of the reports on screen and the mouse changes into a hand, it means you've got full drill down functionality on that, which is quite awesome and useful utility to have. So I can simply click on that and it will take me to the original invoice. Now also what you will notice as I go through some of the reports with you are the printing options that we have there on top. Now I'll go through this once with you because you'll see that the layout is exactly the same on each and every single report that we will cover, that we will go through in detail. Now the first option that we have is a display search window where you can specifically search for additional information on that window. The next button that we have is to email the reports. It's a short function, that allows you to just simply click on it and you can simply email the report from here. Then you've got the printing options. You can print the report and it will print all 2 pages. Alternatively, you can print the current page that you're currently viewing. Then you've got your browsing options where you can file through to your last page, the previous page, or you can click on the drop-down box and select the page number that you want to view. You can go down to the next page or the last page. You can export the report, saving it onto a disk, saving it into a specific format onto your computer, and these are the formats that are currently available. You can export the report in PDF, which is the ideal export function. Reason being I'm saying it's ideal is because the PDF is encrypted, so it is protected. No one can go into the PDF document and do any changes. Even though you may have Adobe Writer or Reader, you will not have the functionality to go into PDF documentation, because I have covered this before, is that it is a requirement it is a SARS requirement that all PDF documentation from accounting softwares needs to be encrypted and protected so that no one can go in there and edit them. However, you can choose to export the report into Excel, which gives you the full access of Excel functionality, and you can go and change things around and group things as you want to see. You can use the rich text format, HTML, which is internet, your HTML format, so it will open the report up in the web browser, a text file, or it will print it into an image file. Once you've selected the option that you want, then you can simply click on the export function and it will export it into that function or into that option that you've selected. And all you'll need to then do is choose the location you want to save the file to. And that basically covers our days outstanding balance for customers. Now let's have a look at our customer statements. Taking you back into the reports menu, going back to the customers options, let's have a look at our customer statement run. So by clicking on the customer statements, now it will bring us through to this report where we can print our customer statements. And at this stage, we can choose to print, email, or view the reports on screen. As you see there, that the filters are quite similar. The report filters in terms of filtering by customer, inactive or active accounts, or by category. And then the reporting options. You want to see your customer statements for a specific date range. So I'm going to run it from January 2010. 1st of January 2010 up until this current month. Do I want to see zero balance accounts? No, I don't. Do I want to show details? So this will show me details of the customers and all transactions. I simply select that option. I click on view the report just to view the report on screen with you. But as you can see, you've got the full report function available in terms of printing and emailing the reports out. And this is what a typical statement would look like. As you'll see, the printing options on top, quite standard, exactly the same that you will find on all other reports. And this is what a typical statement would look like for your customers. It will show you the customer's transactions, if you've added a logo on the top right, and then transactions, including the customer's details on the bottom, on the left-hand side right there, and give you all the details of all the transactions that have been processed based on the filters that you've entered in terms of the dates and so on. And also, quite awesome is the aging or the days outstanding that prints on the statements at the bottom. So when you're printing your statements for your customer can get to see that they do actually have 56,000 in this example, 56,000 outstanding in 120 days plus. So they would need to look at settling that amount first or make it a priority. So it's quite useful. It's available to you, and it is similar to your supplier remittances and other reports that I will touch on briefly as we go along. Now this would be a typical customer statement, and that pretty much would cover our customer specific reports. I just touched on those two customer specific reports because those would be the reports that you would work with on a daily basis. Now, as for suppliers, quite similar options as you have for customers. So just to take you through there, by simply selecting the supplier option, you can show a report showing you a list of your suppliers. While I wait for the report to update, there we go. You can print a supplier report showing you a list of all your suppliers. You can view your purchases by suppliers just to have a look at which of your suppliers you are buying stock from the most. You also have a supplier balance days outstanding for you to see which of your suppliers you owe in the different periods, in current, 30 days, and so on, so that you can prioritize those payments to those suppliers, and just to give you that added control on your outstanding balances to your creditors, if I can use that term. Your supplier statements would then be your supplier remittances, which would be referred to remittances on traditional accounting systems, but here we've left it as supplier statements. And then you also have your supplier transactions, which would then be a list of all the transactions per supplier, showing you details of each and every transaction that has been processed per supplier. Now, as you see, the reports for suppliers and customers is actually quite identical. Now, the next list of reports that we're going to have a look at is our items or inventory specific reports. By simply clicking on that option, these are the items, these are the items and inventory specific reports that we have. We have an item listing, which is simply details of a list of all your items, showing you the closing balances per item. You can have a look at your top sales or your sales by items report, so you can have that added control of seeing which is your stock items that you are selling the most, so your fastest moving stock items. So you can view that report. You can have a look at your purchases by items, so you can have a look at what sort of items you're buying the most from your creditors, your suppliers. Your item movements, which is the reports that we will be viewing for the sake of today's session. But you also have an item valuation report. Basically, an item valuation will be a value of your stock that you currently have on the floor or at your premises. A value of your stock either based on the average cost of the items or the last cost of the items. Now, if you need additional information on any of these reports, please go to the help file, read up about it. It gives it to you in more depth, in more detail, so that you know exactly what is on the report and the differences between the reports. But as I said, I'm just touching over it. It's a brief overview. So the report that I want to bring your attention to is the item movement report. By simply clicking on that item movement report, it will bring me to item-specific filters, whereby I can then filter by items, filter by active or inactive items or stock items. I can filter by category. I can filter whether I want to see movement of my physical or service items. Then I've got the report options at the bottom, as you can see on the screen now. I'm going to typically run this report for January again, last year, up until the current year. I'll view the report on screen. As you can see, I've not selected any items, I've not selected any categories, meaning that I want to see all my items for all my categories. And there's the report on screen. You'll notice that the printing bar on top is exactly the same as I've covered previously, so I'm not going to go into any detail with that. But now it shows you details of your item movement. It will show you the first item there is one time, whatever one time is, but in this case it is an item that I have created in this company. It will show you movement that on this specific date there was an opening balance of 3,000. There were invoices, and you'll notice that all the invoices have a negative quantity on the right hand side. So everything going out in terms of your customer invoices will have a negative, and anything being brought in, like your supplier invoices, will have a positive value, therefore showing you the movement. Now what I've done is I have drilled down on one of the supplier invoices, which takes me to the original supplier invoice, which is what I have on the screen now. So it's just to show you accidentally how the drill down functionality works. I'm going to take you back to the item inventory reporting, back to the item movement, view the report again on screen. I just wanted to touch on a point here on the item movement report, which is quite interesting in terms of the layouts. Note the layout is quite clean. Everything highlighted in bold are your most important information. So it will filter based on whatever's highlighted in bold. So it will be the date, the reference, the description, the item on top, and right at the bottom will show you the totals for the items also highlighted in bold, which would then be the total value. Now what I wanted to bring your attention to on that report is on the quantity column. You'll have your opening balances, your invoices, stock going out, stock moving, coming in, and it will show you the total. I just needed to show you the total at the bottom, that the total will be showing you the total per item for the period that you've specified. So if you've specified 1 month, it will show you for that specific item, this is the total movement for that specific item, which is quite cool, very easy to use, and the report is available to you. And that, in a nutshell, would cover our item-specific report. Then we look at our bank, credit cards, and accounts report. By simply clicking on that option, it will bring us to a list of the reports available in this category of reports. Just waiting for the screen to update on your end. Great, I see it has updated. Now the first report would be the bank and credit card listing, which would then be a listing like on any other listing report, a list of all your bank accounts and credit cards showing the balances of each and also the details of each bank account. Bank and credit card transactions, showing you each and every single transactions that has been processed per bank or credit card. Bearing in mind that bank and credit cards also refers to your petty cash if you've created your petty cash as a bank account. Your cash movement report, showing you a brief summary of cash moving in and out of the business. And that is the report that I will view with you on this session. We also have an accounts transaction report. Now these will be the accounts that you would have created initially and all transactions processed to these specific accounts. So these will be transactions of all these accounts of transactions being processed, a list of all these transactions processed to a specific account. If you want to see a list of your accounts, there you go, the report is there available to you. And you have a cash flow report which shows you the cash inflows and cash outflows by the type of transaction. So the report is there, it's available. You can view your cash flow report to see what inflows and outflows of cash and type of transaction is available. But as I said, I'd like to bring your attention to the cash movement report. By simply clicking on that cash movement report, yet again it will take us through the filters. I'm not going to filter on any bank accounts because I want to see all my banks. I'm not going to filter by active or inactive bank accounts. I'm not going to filter by category. However, I will change the date to January last year. Do I want to see zero balances? No, I do not. Or you can choose to view your zero balances as well. I view the reports on screen and I wait for the report to run. Waiting for the report to update on your end. Okay, great. I see the report is slowly updating. Perfect. This is the cash movement report. Now the cash movement report, we'll have a look at firstly the period. What month are we looking at? We are looking at January 2010. It will have a look at the bank account. Which bank account are we referring to? We're having a look at the current account in this case. As you can see, I've got a petty cash and also a savings account created there. The next column gives us the balance being brought forward. This will be the balance being brought forward in the previous month. So this would then be from December 2009. This is the balance being brought forward for this specific account. Was there any cash received? Was there any cash paid out? Any cash transfers? And what is the balance being carried forward into the month of February 2010. So this is your cash movement report, and from here you've got your printing. You can choose whatever printing options they are available to you. So this is a typical cash movement report. I'm just going to go to page 2 just to show you an example where there has been some sort of activity. You'll notice that in October last year, in my current account, there was 6,858 cash received. There was 11,628 cash paid out. There were no transfers, and this would have been the closing balance being carried forward into the month of November. So I just wanted to show you transactions, rather a report that has some movement that has occurred in there. And that sums up our bank credit cards and accounts report. The next report, very important report that we're going to have a look at, is our tax report. By simply clicking on the tax reports, it will take us to a list of what tax reports we have available. Just waiting for the screen to update on your end. Okay, great. I see the reports have updated on your end. Now, the first report that we have is our tax report. Now, the tax report is for reporting to our tax authorities. And that is the report I'm going to go through in detail with you with. The next report that we have is our audit report. Basically, the audit report shows you, lists you all the transactions for all your customers and credit notes that were emailed to your customers and have been marked as computer generated. Now, I have touched on this before when we were processing for customers and suppliers, the PDF document encryption. It is SARS requirement that when you're emailing documents out to your customers, invoices specifically and credit notes to customers, specifically those reports, they need to be in an encrypted format and they cannot be tampered with or changed or edited in any way. So this is for tax auditing purposes, that Pastel can then pull through a report showing you all the invoices that were emailed out to customers, assuming then that all those transactions, all those invoices and credit notes were PDF encrypted and were not edited by anyone. So the report is available to you. And there's also a tax payment and refunds report giving you details of all the transactions or all the payments or the refunds that you've claimed or paid over to your tax authorities, to SARS in our case in South Africa. And just taking you through a typical report, which I think would be beneficial to you, is the tax report. I'm going to click on the tax reports option, and it will take us through the filters. Now, as you can see on your screen, the filters that we have is we can filter by tax. What sort of tax type do we want to report on? Do you want to see only transactions with 0% exempt tax, or do you want to see everything with 40% or zero rated tax? For the sake of today's session, I'm not going to select any tax type, meaning that I'm selecting all of them. However, I'm going to change my date range again to last year, from January last year. And the style. The style here is, do I want to see details or do I want to see a summary of the report? Now, a summary will then show me my input, output, and my net tax, which is then payable or what I need to claim as a refund back from SARS. However, if I want to see details, it will show me that my output tax is this total, but it's made up of these invoices. My input tax is made up of these supply invoices, and therefore my net tax is made up of these specific transactions. So it's completely up to you whether you need to see details or summary. But for the sake of today's session, let's have a look at our detailed report. Do we want to include any tax adjustments? Now, we have covered tax adjustments on previous sessions where we did processing. So if you want to see any tax adjustments that you've done, you can simply select that option. If you want to see all payments and refunds processed to your tax authorities in summary, you can also select that option to make it available to you. Let's view the report on screen and see what it looks like. There we go. Now, my tax report has appeared on my end. I'm just waiting for it to update on yours. The report is made up of 3 pages. I see that it's gradually updating on your side. Perfect. Now, this is the detailed report, meaning that it is showing you all the transactions making up the total for each tax type, if I can call it that loosely. And right now we're looking at output tax. Now, for output tax, it's made up of all these invoices, therefore showing the tax and all the values there as negative amounts, which would then be your output tax. And then the next tax type would then, your tax category rather, would be your input tax, which would ideally be made up of your suppliers and so forth. As you can see, all the transactions here show as positive values. So this is what the report would look like. It will show you the exclusive values, it will show you the inclusive values, and the tax amounts on the very last column, because that is ideally what we're looking for, the information that we want to find. And you will notice that you also have the full drill down functionality here. However, I want to bring your attention to the detailed report, what the detailed report would have looked like, the summary rather, not showing you all these details. So I'm going to take you through to the very last page, which is page number 3. And this is what the summary would look like if you didn't show the detail. The summary will just show you, for this tax type, for your bad debts, for your standard rates at 14% tax, any tax adjustments, and your totals there. It will show you your output tax, the tax amount and the inclusive values. It will show you your input tax, the tax amount, inclusive values, and your net tax being the difference between your output and your input tax, the inclusive and the tax values. As you can see, there's values in there, and it shows you your grand totals at the bottom, which is quite awesome. The report is there, it's quite simple. And for your ease of use, we've also added this information here at the bottom. Amount payable / refundable. So of all the things that we've looked at on this tax report, that is what is either payable or refundable from tax. Bearing in mind that if the value is a negative, then this is the amount payable over to SARS or your tax authorities. If the amount, however, is a positive value, this is the amount that you need to claim as a refund from the tax authorities. So there it is. The report is there. It's awesome. It's available to you. You can then print this report, complete your tax report, and submit your tax through to your tax authorities. And that sums up our tax-specific reports. The next set of reports we have a look at is our financial statements. Very important sets of reports, which you would be very keen on having a look at from time to time. Just waiting for the screen to update on your end. Great, the screen has updated as I see. Now the first report would be our profit and loss. Now the profit and loss was previously called the income statements on traditional accounting systems. However, we've called it profit and loss just to simplify it and make it easy for you to recognize. I want to see my profit and loss. So by simply clicking on that option and specify the date ranges, I'm yet again going to run it for last year, from January last year. Very important option available there after you've selected your date range is calculating your cost of sales. Is it based on sales or is it based on purchases? Now I'm not going to go into any details there, but if you need to read up more information and what the differences are, you will then need to go into the help file and just search for the information on how Pastel calculates the purchases, your cost of sales based on purchases and or based on sales. And it will show you a brief explanation and also an example of what the differences are. But for the sake of today's session, let's base it on sales. And I view the reports on screen. Just waiting for the profit and loss report to run. Great, I see the report is updated gradually. Perfect. Now you'll notice the profit and loss report quite cleanly laid out for you. Everything highlighted in bold would be the main topic, and everything not bolded would be the details of the transactions for each specific account. You'll notice that there's a sales value. Notice that the sales, I can drill down on the sales to see what makes up that amount of 38,000. Cost of sales, showing you the gross profit, if there's any other income, any expenses, total for the expenses, and then this would be the net profit and loss before tax. The income tax expense would show then at the bottom, and the net profit and loss after tax. Now this is a typically what was known as an income statement. We've called the profit and loss report. So the report is there, it's available to you. And if you need to, as I said before, if you need to have a look at that cost of sales calculation based on sales or purchases, please go through to the help file and read up so you can get some more clearer example, because it is a bit more detailed than what it would take for me to cover it in this session. That in a nutshell is your profit and loss report. Going back to our financial statements, let's have a look at our statements of assets and liabilities. Now, statements of assets and liabilities, since this is specific to assets and liabilities have a running account, so a running balance rather. So the balance keeps getting carried forward. So I can run it for today's date, so I'm not going to change the date. I'll view the report on the screen. Notice that it is a statement of assets and liabilities. So it will list all your assets, it will list all your liabilities, and the totals thereof. And there we go. Just waiting for the report to update on some of our audience view. And this is a typical statement of assets and liabilities report. Very cleanly laid out for you. It will show you all your assets, current and non-current assets, all your liabilities, current and non-current liabilities, and it will give you a total of your net assets or liability value, which is quite cool. The report is there, it's available to you. The next financial report that we're going to look at, the next financial statement report, is our trial balance. Very powerful utility that we've incorporated into the trial balance. I have touched on the trial balance on our previous sessions when we looked at the accountants area. But for those that missed the session, because I can see we've got a couple of new attendees this morning, welcome. Just to touch on the trial balance. Now the trial balance here is to see your trial balance as a list of your transactions. So the trial balance will incorporate your profit and loss balances and also your asset and liability account balances. It will incorporate all of them into one report, which is quite cool. It shows you all the transaction, all the values or the balances for each transaction, each debit and credit entry. So the filters that you have available here, you can view this report yearly, monthly, or from live to date. You can view this report from last year or this year. And what to show, you can show the movements. Now the movement would then be the movement that has occurred or the transaction totals that have happened throughout the year, or you can see closing balances, which would then be the net effect of opening balances plus all the movement, giving you the closing balances. That which will then be the closing balance, the net effect of all your movements of each and every single account. Let's view this report on screen. Voila, there we go. We've got our trial balance on screen now. You'll notice that it has listed all the accounts, sales, including cost of sales, all expenses, assets, liabilities, owner's equity, everything is included in here. And you'll notice that everything has either a debit or a credit balance, bearing in mind that Pastel takes care of that for you. And as you'll see, it is a trial balance, so it needs to balance. As you can see, all the debits equal all the credits, and the report is there. You can drill down on this report to get to specific information that you require. So this is basically what the trial balance looks like, and that sums up all our financial statement reports. And just to touch briefly, we have our asset report as well. Now the asset report, this is a basic asset register report based on the information that you captured when you created your assets. So I'm not going to go into any details there. As I said, it's only one report. It's an asset register report. You can filter by asset, by category, or by location, and you can simply view the reports on screen. Lastly, the set of reports that we have under the other category or the other option are our audit specific reports. Very powerful reports that are available to you. You can have a look at the to-do list. Now the to-do list will show you all transactions that require your immediate attention. So if there's an outstanding quote which has not been carried over and linked into an invoice, it will show you as a to-do. If there's an invoice that is outstanding that has not been paid, it will show you under the to-do list. So it's a very powerful utility showing you everything that requires your immediate attention that is currently outstanding. So things that you still need to do. Another powerful report that we have here is our audit trail. Now the audit trail report simply is for auditing purposes. Basically for you to see who's done what in your company, your Pastel My Business Online company. You'll be able to see who's done any changes, who's created transactions, who's edited transactions, who's deleted transactions. So by simply clicking on that audit trail report, it will take me through to the filters. I'll run the filters for last year again. Most importantly here, do you want to see the users? Display the users, simply tick that option to display the user of all the user so that you can see which user has done what. So you can simply click that option, click on the view report, there we go. Now this report is made up of 10 pages. Very powerful report that we have here for auditing purposes. It shows you that there was the event, what was created or what was deleted or what was edited, the date it was created, edited or deleted, the time this was done, what was the reference number provided, what was the transaction date, and the amount of the transaction, the value of the transaction that was done. And most importantly, who was the user that was logged in to do the transaction. You'll notice that I previously created recurring invoices, which is what I covered at previous sessions, and you'll notice that the user here is a recurring profile, which means that I've got an active recurring profile which I can then go stop or delete or cancel so that it doesn't continue generating these invoices automatically. So there we go. Very powerful utility for auditing purposes. Gives you full function, full access to see who's done what in the company. And that in a nutshell covers today's topic, which is financial statements and reporting. Guys, if you have any questions around today's topic, feel free to put those questions through to me right now so I can attend to those. And while I wait for those questions to come through, just to give you a brief update is that we've got a couple of other sessions lined up in this series of sessions. So we've got the financial statements and reports that we are running today. The next one that we're going to be running is preparing for the financial year end. Very big topic or session that I'd like to invite you to. And also we'll be looking at report designing, how you can customize your invoices to look how you want them to look. Adding logos, customizing them, making certain things bigger, making the report look exactly like how you want them to look. So we'll have a look at that at our next sessions. So watch out, go to pastelmybusiness.co.za just to have a look at these the next two sessions in the series to conclude our series. Go through, check it out, sign up for those two. Most importantly, I must say, preparing for year end, please, it will be very informative. It will be brief, so get as many people involved in that one. But also bearing in mind that all the information, everything that I have covered on this series since last year is available on the Pastel website. So if you go to www.pastel.co.za, or under the training section, you'll see Pastel webinars. You'll see that all the sessions that I have done are available for you to see. So you can have a look at them. Maybe it's a topic you've missed, so you can go through and just go through that session. Unfortunately, you will not be able to download these at the moment. It's just for you to see online. And also, what we also have available is very powerful webinars that have been uploaded onto the very same location on the Pastel website, done by our MD, Stephen Cohen. Very powerful overview of the Pastel My Business Online. So feel free, go check it out. The information is there, it's available to you. Okay, great guys, that concludes today's session.
Thank you for joining us for this My Business Online webinar. If you found it useful, please visit the Pastel website to find out about future My Business Online webinars or training courses. Alternatively, contact us on sales@pastelmybusiness.co.za.